What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the best route running from the 2021 NFL Week 3, okay? So we're going to be talking about three specific routes here from DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, and then we're going to be looking at this route here against zone coverage from Odell Beckham Jr., okay? So I hope this video helps you guys out, teaches you some things about route running and how these guys are able to create so much separation. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know a specific step-by-step, day-to-day training schedule that you guys need to do on the field with wide receiver drills, check out that very first link in the description for our 28-day on-field wide receiver workout plan. So what it is a full 4-week schedule, all the drills mapped out for you in a specific plan that you guys can do to improve your route running, press releases, hands, and we include a 30-minute instructional video where we break down each drill, explain the importance of it, and show a full-speed example, okay? So I hope you guys could check that out. It's the very first link in that description below. Let's get started with this video. So we're looking at this router for Metcalf. He's at the top of the screen, okay? So he's going to be running something we call a T route. I know there's a couple different names for it, but essentially it's like the reverse of a whip route, okay? So now, you want to think of it like he's drawing a T, like, right? So like it's here. That's how you want to think of it. That's what I call it. It's like a reverse of a whip route. I'm sure there's a couple different names for it. I'm sure some people call it different things in their playbooks, but we're mainly going to be focusing on the break, right? So this is a double move route. So the number one thing is that we have to be a salesman. And Metcalf, for him to be able to move like this as a wide receiver, it's very, very rare for a guy his size and his build to be able to move like this. And that's why he's such a freak. But this is something that especially guys who maybe aren't the size of him have to emphasize, and guys who are even just as big or a bigger side of a receiver position, right? So when he breaks to the out route on this, you see how much his shoulders and his hips commit to this break, right? That's the number one thing because that's where that DB is going to be watching. A linebacker walk down, a safety walk down, nickel. They're going to be watching your hips. They're not supposed to be watching your eyes. They're definitely not going to be watching your feet. So the number one thing that you have to commit to every single route is your body language. Now, you see Metcalf doesn't even sell with his eyes on this break. He breaks to the out route here, and he does not even sell with his eyes. It's all stride, and it is all body language because a DB commits on two things. He commits on your speed, you being in full stride, actually running down that first portion of the break, and he commits on your body language, and that's what Metcalf does. Now, when we have full speed, when we're going as fast as we possibly can, when you're committed to a break, there's only one way you could change direction, and that's being violent with your hips or violent with your steps, right? So that's exactly what Metcalf does here, and you see how he's got that violent drop down with his hips, and you see how he's dropping at his hips. It's almost like there's a string attached from his chin to his knee. This is an explosive position that you want to get to. Now, he gets out of this break in 2 steps. The thing that young receivers love to do is they love to emphasize steps, not so much eliminating time, right? Eliminating time comes from the violent drop and how powerful your steps can be. Eliminating steps comes from slowing down. What so many guys will do is they'll break to this out route and they'll start to slow down because they're so concerned with taking only 2 steps right here. The problem with that is if you guys slow down, the DB is also going to slow down because he's going to match my tempo. He's not threatened by the out route. So we have to work on doing both. I would much rather have you take 4 steps right here than take 2 steps but slow down because that's going to give the DB time to react. Now, Metcalf, when he drops down, you see how he's violent with his hips and his outside foot hooks around. That's what allows him to get out in 2 steps. He hooks that outside foot around and he gets to that 45-degree shin angle. That shin angle right there is what's going to allow him to drive off of that foot and burst back to the inside. So you want to snap, pivot that foot back around just like a whip route because when you're in this explosive position, your feet, both shin angles are on a 45-degree angle and you can drive off of that inside arch. We can get out of this thing fast, least amount of steps possible, and the least amount of time spent possible so we could accelerate and widen the distance from this DB. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Metcalf breaking to this out route, accelerating, dropping those hips, and hooking that outside leg around to make this play. So now let's take a look at this next route from Justin Jefferson. So it's kind of a similar concept, right? But this is a slant out route, or some people call this a blaze out, okay? So now he decides to break on this outside foot. That's something that is extremely rare because he's driving off of this foot back to the out route, which is something that's very hard to do. So if you guys run this type of route and you break with your inside foot and you kind of snap, pivot the right leg, then hook the left leg around, you're out in 3 steps, that's completely fine. But the main thing we're going to focus on is just a hip drop technique, okay? So now, very similar to the route that Metcalf ran, but now he's breaking inside, cutting back out. Now, a whip route, fellas, a lot of people like to say that, oh, he's running a whip route, not a slant out. What are you saying? He's turning his back. A whip route or a pivot route, however you guys want to think of it, you keep your chest and you keep your hips parallel to the line of scrimmage. When you turn your back to the line of scrimmage, it's more of like an out route concept. So some people call it a blaze out, some people call it a slant out. It's really the exact same thing, okay? So that's the difference, number one. Now, number two, what we're going to focus on is just this hip drop, why it's such a great route. Because again, same concept that we were talking about with Metcalf. Body language language is there, stride is there, but now Jefferson sells with those eyes. When your eyes are committed to that quarterback, that's just icing on the cake, right? Everything about this is saying slant, drag, and we know on the goal line, what do DBs not want to give up when they're in man coverage? Inside. They don't want to let you run 50 yards across the field to make this play, right? But now, when I'm going full speed, how do I change direction? You got to be violent. So you almost want to pretend there's a string attached from your chin to your knee, and you see how he just snaps his weight down. That's the explosive position that we got to get to. Now, we briefly touched on it with Metcalf, but when you guys get to that explosive position, you have to be thinking, okay, I'm in this spot now. I decelerated. I'm in a spot where I can drive out and actually create some energy. So many receivers don't do this. They'll drop to this specific spot. They'll get low like this, but then what they do is they pop straight up. They're not concerned with driving out of there and creating energy to turn it into acceleration to get out of this route. But that's what Jefferson does such a great job of. He snaps here, hooks this opposite foot around. You see how he's powerful with that step, and his goal is to push off of that step. His goal is to push so he could go win the race back to the ball, because this is the spot that we're trying to get to. It is a race over here to the ball with us and the DB, and we get a head start on the DB if we have a sudden drop, if we're selling the route, because we get him to commit on it. So make sure, fellas, that your mindset is, I'm creating energy with my hips, I'm getting low enough, and my goal is to get low so I can explode. It's like a 40-yard dash. When you run a 40-yard dash, you don't just stand up and run. You're going to get a horrible time. You drive for 10 yards. They call it the drive phase. That's what gives you that acceleration, and you could actually accelerate and finish through the 40 at top speed, just like this route, because we want to hit top speed when I'm catching this ball. Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Jefferson selling the slant, actually being in stride, being violent with his hips, and then being able to accelerate out of this route. All right, guys, if you have not heard, we are going to be in the Arizona area October 2nd and October 3rd for a 2-day quarterback and wide receiver training clinic. So if you guys want to come out, you're in the Arizona area, get some good work in, be a great opportunity for you guys to get better. Check out that second link in the description below. We're going to be out there. It's a 3-hour thing for quarterbacks, wide receivers. We're bringing out a speed coach to help you guys with 40-yard dash mechanics, overall just running mechanics to help you guys become a better athlete. And obviously, we'll be doing quarterback and wide receiver specific work with me. So again, if you guys are in the Arizona area October 2nd and 3rd this weekend, check out that second link in the description below. Let's get back to this last route. So now we're looking at this route from Odell, right? So this is a zone coverage concept, 2 high safeties with like kind of probably a nickel on the inside shade of him, right? So let's watch the thing full speed. So this is probably kind of more so, I would say, like bracket coverage here from Odell, like kind of a double team. But I just want to talk about mainly how he's able to put the brakes on, number one, and just how he's able to move this DB off that platform. So many guys, like, again, we don't know what this full coverage is. We don't know if he's getting double team. We don't know if it's like that's a nickel safety, whatever it is. We don't know what it is because we can't see the full clip. However, one thing that we can tell is that this is a look that a lot of slot wide receivers will be able to see. A lot of slot wide receivers see this kind of DB who's in, or a linebacker even, like if we're talking a basic 4-3 concept, who's inside shade and they got to run a route and they're not sure what to do because this guy loves to get hands and he loves to reroute. So my mindset as a slot wide receiver needs to be, all right, I'm going to take it to him. I'm going to close the distance, and that's exactly what Odell does. He kind of does a great job of coming off and taking, they call this almost like a dive release where you're diving inside. That's kind of what I would consider it. But it's not necessarily a dive release, but that's similar to what I would consider it to be. But where we dive inside and we're trying to move this DB off the platform to take the outside release. So he does a great job of doing that. He does a great job of swatting those hands, combating those hands, and being able to get up on top of this thing. Now, again, same deal that we were talking about with Jefferson and Metcalf. All these great route runners, all these great receivers, we try to look for the common things that they do. Every receiver's in a different offense. You may be in a power offense, a lot of play action, or like a pro-style offense, run a lot of power, a lot of play action, quarterbacks under center, taking long drops, running long routes, or you might be in like an air raid system where the ball's just getting out of the quarterback's hand fast. Everybody's in a different play concept. All the routes are different, but the breaks remain the same. The technique remains the same. And you see how Odell, how's he getting in and out of this break? He's getting to that low explosive spot, chin to his knee, like a string's attached to his chin. He knows to be able to put the brakes on after running full speed. He's got to be violent with those hips and be able to sit this thing off. And that's a great example of this route by Odell. Great job setting up this defender back to the inside, right? So now, when we have a defender inside shade, as I'm coming out of the slot, I got to make sure I take it to him. I got to make sure I attack him because he's not just going to sit there. If he sees me cross his face or threatening him to cross his face, he will move with me because his goal is to reroute me, and chances are we are a better athlete than that guy who they have inside shade out of the slot. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Odell, getting back over the top, working those hand techniques, and then beating that bracket coverage. All right, guys, we want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Always appreciate the feedback. And again, fellas, if you want a 4-week-long on-field wide receiver workout plan, all the specific drills you need to do on the field to improve your game and take your skills to the next level as a wide receiver, check out that very first link in the description. Step-by-step schedule laid out for you guys. Hope you guys can check that out. Very first link below, like I said. I'll see you guys next time.